Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon if you're in the Eastern time zone, I suppose, because it's just about noon. Just about ready to start this roll of 1963 Denver Lincoln Cents here. Let's see who all we've got in here. Joe McBride, Farm Dog, Eric Beyer. Good morning, guys. Fellow penny freak, as you would so eloquently call it. Is everybody hearing me all right? Just want to make sure we're here and good to go. I wouldn't want to not be talking to you or anything. Let me go ahead and put my names, all 50 of them here, inside the bag. Loud and clear. Hello, Hawkeye. Alright, here's my roll. It's a Pittsburgh Branch Fed Reserve Bank of Cleveland. As a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, I just don't like it when you mix Pittsburgh and Cleveland in the same name. It just doesn't work well for me. But it is the Pittsburgh branch of the Fed Reserve Bank of Cleveland. That's what we're dealing with here. Let me go ahead and open up my roll. This one's going to be one of those tough ones. That's because it's from Pittsburgh, people. Oh, see, I just broke my tool. Can't seem to get that end open right now. I'll try this other end here real quick. I can slide the coins down just a little bit, and they'll help me out getting the tight end open. With all of these, it seems, well, with most of them anyway, there seems to be a tight end and a looser end. And I believe the tighter end was a preform, or something that somebody created in bulk as like a preform of sorts, where that was done on some other machine somewhere else. And then when the bank wrapped the coins, they had a round tube that was sealed on one end, and then they'd get the coins into it and then seal the other end. So that's what I think. That's my theory, because every one of these bank wrapped rolls that I've ever opened in the American coin wrapping style wrappers with the one dash going all the way across the wrapper, I'm thinking that all of this style, where they've got the dash in the paper like this and like this, I'm thinking those were preformed. I hope everybody out there having a great day just like I am. Started off real nice, got my coffee, got my go juice, everything's all good to go. The grease actually comes from the counter. Is that waxy stuff that's on the coins? It comes from the counter itself. First coin in the roll, Mike Birchman. This is 1963D, I'm sorry, 1963D. I gotta wipe the paper stuff off of this one so I can see what's going on. I just dust it real lightly with a Q-tip. That's all it takes. That is a struck through. It's a little struck through right next to the mint mark. Looking especially for anything that looks like repunch mint mark. Okay, so it comes from the counter. Well, I appreciate that. So that's what that stuff is. Yeah, see, that comes right off. I just scraped it up just a little bit with my thumbnail. Got 91 degrees in New York. Wow. Yeah, I did notice the other day right after we had a rainstorm, it was like 77 degrees here but it was 84 in Manitoba. So it was actually warmer in Manitoba than it was in North Carolina. That was kind of cool. I watch stuff like that on occasion because I think it's kind of neat. Like to watch the weather forecast, but man, I tell you what, some of these people are just ill-educated. Either they just have no idea what they're doing in front of a camera, because they tend to mumble a lot and they tend to overspeak themselves, and they're just having all kinds of trouble coming up with something to say to take up the time that they have. For some reason, I never have trouble finding my way around. Maybe I should be a weather person on TV. I don't know about that. I don't know that you'd want me on there. Come on, folks, it's just a thunderstorm. I don't care if you got a couple of broken windows, repair them. No big deal. Yeah, so it was a tornado. Whatever. Did it kill anybody? No. Let's move on in life. Rained this morning and now it's hot. Hot, hot. I think we might have a little double eyelid going on here. I think this is the same die as the first coin. Let me check it with my trusty loop. My trusty loop is going to do more to help me than this little scope will. Yep. It's a doubled eyelid. It's a late die state and it's kind of small, but it is a doubled eyelid. So let's see if we can get ourselves a good marker to use. Something's not going on right with my camera. It's a very late die state coin, but it does have a doubled eyelid. These later die state coins make it really difficult to pick up good markers. I mean, really difficult. Mint mark looks like it's relatively well centered and directly below the 9/6 gap. That's one thing we can look for, is the position of the mint mark. Mint mark coins always have one marker, at least. That's the position of the mint mark itself. That is a marker because back then they put the mint marks in by hand. Given they put the mint marks in by hand, they're all going to be different positions. Of course, even a blind squirrel finds his nuts once in a while. You're going to have 2 or 3 dies here and there that are going to have the exact same positioning. You can't use it as a marker, but that's going to be scarce. When you have 500 different dies and so few little spaces, I just can't find a marker on this. I can't find anything worth using. I'm not even sure I'm going to be able to list this because it's so late die state. Let's flip it over in the reverse and see if there's any markers. Now you got 500 dies. You got such a small space to cover with a mint mark. You're rather likely to accidentally punch a mint mark in the exact same spot twice. See if you can do it without adding a repunch mint mark. Yeah, there's just nothing going on with this coin. The die is in horrible shape. Good morning, Misplaced Super Girl. Why would I make millions and everyone would want me? You gotta realize that when it comes to doing TV, it's a lot different from doing radio. Radio, you can have a voice and work with your voice, and that's about it. TV, you have to be presentable. About 90% of the time, I'm not very presentable. Plus, I yawn a lot. Medication makes me do that. Medication keeps me tired. Ho, Randy. And Andy. Randy, Andy, Amy, and Ghost Pirate. How's everybody doing this morning? Or this afternoon? This morning. I'm going to call it this morning because it's just barely noon here. We're just now getting used to the fact that it's not morning anymore here in the mid-Atlantic. And so it is morning everywhere else in the U.S., so I'm just going to say good morning, good morning. That's one thing you don't want me doing, is singing on the radio. Yet them big corporations be dropping their ads right and left. It's like you need to get that walrus off of your channel. Erpy derpy der. Time Travelers Coin Exchange. Good morning, sir. Good morning. Good morning. So I thought I might be looking at an RPM here. But I'm kind of thinking not at this point. No, I don't think so. Everything's so late dice state, it's hard to tell. Where did I put Revel? Amy, help me out. Did I spell reveal wrong somewhere? Because I can't see it. My title shows it right. I don't see it. Reveal number 176. 1963 Federal Reserve Bank of Pittsburgh. It's actually the Pittsburgh branch of the Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland, but we won't say that out loud. Found 3 different 60 Philadelphia double die reverses last night. There you go. So that's a double die lid right there too. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to find out whether there's any double eyelids in the roll so far. This is coin number 1 all over again. See, this one was right on the end of the roll, and it appears as though we could have a double eyelid there. So I'm going to pull it off to the side. There's a minor double eyelid, and then coin number 2. We're just getting into this roll, so I figure out what we're doing with it. Coin number 2. This one had one of the doubled eyelids as well. Coin number 3. You need hooked on phonics? I spent years working on my spelling. Okay, coin number 3 is normal. Coin number 4 does have a doubled eyelid. It does appear that it is not the same die as before, but you know, these doubled eyelids on these 1963 Ds, I think I'm just going to put them all in a pile together and just call them a double eyelid pile. Someone just bought your 1797 large cent? Well, somebody's got your 1797. You've always got the 1799 you can look at. Right? Trying to get focus here. There we go. Good focus. All right. And this one's also a doubled eyelid, so I'm going to put it on the pile of doubled eyelids. Let's see what we got going on here. That's Adam Chambers, so I'll put his name with his coin. Adam C. Now, coin number 5. Get this thing moving. You have no 1799? Blasphemer. I thought you were a collector. That's a joke. That's another doubled eyelid right there. Another minor doubled eyelid, as it appears. I believe it's a doubled eyelid. checking it under my loop and checking it under this microscope. It appears to be a doubled eyelid. You have 7 1794s. I wish I had kept the one I had. I had a 1794 once. I lived in Germany back in the late 80s. And I had a German wife. I spoke pretty good German. And we used to go shopping to different little towns in the area, and I went to a antique shop one time on a whim. Had no idea that there would be anything there for me. I go in and I ask them if they had any Münzen, which is coins, and they did. They brought out this cabinet box with pull-out drawers, and they pulled out a drawer and it had a bunch of, Ludwig stuff and Prussian coins and things like that. I'm like, okay, cool. You have any U.S. coins? Yeah, he pulled out another drawer. And lo and behold, this entire drawer was, and I kid you not, it was full of AU to uncirculated early U.S. copper. They had New Jersey, they had Kentucky, they had a Vermont piece, they had Connecticut, they had the Nova Constellano or whatever the hell it's called. But they also had one that I really liked. It was a 1794 large cent. And I thought, I don't have a whole lot of money. I was just an airman, young military guy. A couple of few dollars to blow here and there. So I asked him how much was the large cent. Well, the price on that was the equivalent of $300 US. It was in German marks. I think it was like 1,000 marks or 500 or 600 marks, something like that. So I decided, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to invest in something like this. So I bought the 1794 large cent. Now I remember my wife at the time had to stop and get something at a store. I think it was shoes. She had to stop at this store. So she stopped at the store. I sat in the car because I didn't want to go in the store. Sitting in the car, it was a 1981 Renault 9, silver with a black interior. We stopped in this parking lot, and over my shoulder in the passenger seat of the car was shining the sun. I remember pulling that coin out and looking at it, and looking at the sparkle of luster that coin had on it. Just an absolute beautiful sparkle of luster. So I got my little loop out, my 16X Anco loop, which was way underblown for the job I had to do, but I looked at it, and as carefully as I looked, I couldn't find any wear on the coin. Nothing on the leaf tips, nothing on the cheek. And I thought, well, there's every chance this thing could be uncirculated. That's pretty cool. So I took it back to the house, and I looked in the coin world. We didn't have internet back then. So I took it back to the house, looked in my coin world, and I saw this company was getting ready to auction a bunch of old quarters and half dollars. It's called Bowers and Ruddy. I'm like, I think I'll take advantage of that. So I took a couple of photographs of the coin that were the best I could do, had them developed, and sent them to Bowers and Ruddy and asked them if they'd be interested in a coin like that. I got a letter back a couple of weeks later. Of course, everything took a couple of weeks back then. So I got a letter back a couple of weeks later saying we would be interested in purchasing the coin. We'll make you a very handsome offer if you send the coin to us. Here's the address. A little bit skeptical, but I decided to go ahead and do it because the potential upside was pretty big. I sent the coin in to him. About 2.5, 3 weeks later, I received a check in the mail. And I thought, well, they'll pay me $600, $700, $800 for it maybe. Double my money and be happy. They paid me $2,000 for the coin. And it, I believe, was an S24, 1794 large cent, and what was very likely an MS63 red brown. That's where I would go. 63 or 64 red brown. It was a very nice coin. Didn't have very many marks on it at all. I remember a couple of, well, small, looked like bag marks, little gashes in the hair on the one side, and I think it had a little gash in the upper wreath on the other side. But that was my first experience dealing in the heavy coins. I did pretty well with that. If I'd been smart, I'd have gone back to the guy and bought all of his colonials. But I didn't. I have no idea. I have no idea what the coin's certified as. I have no idea. Even, I mean, I've got a mind's eye of what it looked like, but it would look just about like any other uncirculated 1794 cent. I know that it was a regular, a regular 1794. It wasn't like the wreath, any of the weird ones like the strawberry cent or whatever. It wasn't anything odd. It was just a normal 1794 large cent. But that's not the only one that got away. 2 or 3 months later, I was in a coin shop in Kaiserslautern, Germany. And gosh, I've got to get something fixed with this thing. It keeps knocking itself out of focus, and I don't know why. There we go. Looking for the little doubled eyelids, pulling those out, and for anything else that might match up as being a premium value item. This coin shop in Kaiserslautern, actually there was an antique shop in Kaiserslautern that I went to on a pretty regular basis, and I bought a couple of Austrian gold pieces from there. And I also got a little short stack pack of note geld one time. That was kind of cool. And not too far away from that were the shopping places my wife liked to go. So we'd go to those little shopping places my wife liked to go to, and it was kind of more like a, well, you have a good day, Miss Play Super Girl. Hope everything works out for you today. Thanks for dropping by. Now, while we were at this little shopping district, now she was there to get a French press for coffee. I remember that. I went around the corner and found a real coin shop. I mean, this place was a Münzgeschäft. It was a real coin shop. And so I went in, and in one of the display cases, the guy had basically what looked like a junk bag of silver. It was basically dimes and quarters and half dollars and stuff, all laid out in these little square trays, ready for sale. So I asked the guy, how much is this? And it was like a 45 quarter, and it wasn't in that great a shape. And he wanted like $4 for it. Well, at that time, silver was only $4 an ounce. So you could go buy quarters at 4 times face pretty easily. So I thought, well, $2 quarter for $4 doesn't sound like a deal to me. So I kept looking, and I looked on the next shelf down, and lo and behold, the luster just about threw me on my butt. Almost said the wrong word there. It was a 1921 half dollar, or 1921 silver dollar. But it wasn't just a 1921 silver dollar. This was a piece dollar. And I thought, well, that's kind of cool. So how much you want for this one? He looked at it, and he looked at me, and he said that he wanted basically the equivalent of about $120 for it. And I was like, well, I think I'll take that. So I did. And the coin was uncirculated. It was a nice uncirculated coin. So I got home, and I took pictures of it and got them developed. Took 4 days to do that, and then I sent mail off to the Bowers and Ready place again. And they were interested. And so they sent me a check for $500. I sold it. It was a nice uncirculated one. It was probably a 64. This was 1988, folks. You have to remember, the world wasn't nearly as developed as it is now as far as things like that are concerned. I think that's another one of our doubled eyelid potentials there. So I'm going to pull it out as a doubled eyelid potential. You see all this fluff coming off the left side of all these letters in Liberty? That's your very late dye state working for you there. That's all feathering from the wear on the dye. Oh, you think those are my only stories? I have stories, boys and girls. Went to a guy's house one time. This was probably 1992. I lived in Oklahoma at the time. Went to a guy's house to buy some baseball cards because I was a baseball card freak at the time. So I was going to buy some baseball cards from him. And had it advertised in the paper, box of baseball cards, make offer. So I asked him on the phone what it was, and he told me they were early 70s. I thought, that's pretty cool. So I'll go take a look. And got to the guy's house, and he had this box of baseball cards. It was probably about shoebox size, a little bit larger than a shoebox, and it was full of baseball cards, and they had all dog ears and whatnot, and they weren't in that great a shape, and there weren't very many stars in it, so I just kind of like sort of passed on it. And I said, you know, I do collectibles, and I like buying and selling collectibles on a pretty regular basis. He says, well, do you do coins? I said, well, yeah, I do coins too. And he says, well, hang on a minute, let me go get this. So the guy comes back out, and he's got a Mercury dime book, and it's one of those library of coins, I think it is, the ones that are the Whitman ones that are blue that have the slides in them. I don't remember what those are called, classic coin album or whatever it is. He had one of those for Mercury dimes. The interesting thing though is that it was full. Yes, full, complete set. And I inspected the 16D and it looked original. I inspected the other scarcer ones, the 21S and things like that, 21D. They looked all original too. Yeah, the Whitman Classic album, that's it. They looked all original too. And I thought, well, this ought to be a pretty good buy. Oop, that's a doubled eyelid right there. That's a nice one. That looks like, because of that chip-looking thing down to the, down toward the nose tip from the doubled eye. I saw one of those on at least two of the other coins, so I think we're doing a repeated die thing here. Of course, I know we're doing a repeated die here because this is an original roll. So there should be a very limited number of dies in it. Anyhow, I asked him, I said, what do you want for this book of Mercury dimes? And he says, well, what do you offer me? I says, well, I don't really do a whole lot with Mercury dimes. I mean, I can sell them, but I don't generally, so I don't know a whole lot about their price, their value. He said, well, you think you could give me $500 for it? I said, yeah, but I think they might be worth a little bit more than that. And he says, well, if you get a lot more than that, you can just bring me some more money back. I say, yeah, I think I can do that. So I went down to the bank, got $500 and brought it back to him. He gave me the book and I took it home. And at that time, slabbing wasn't such a big deal. Because, I mean, this was 1992. It was kind of before the big slabbing craze really happened. And so I took a couple of pictures of the coin, the best I could do, the 1916D. And then I took a picture of the whole album. And I ran it on eBay as a complete set. Mercury dimes, here's the 16D for you so you can get a good close-up look at it. It wasn't a good close-up look. It was kind of a poor quality close-up look, but at least it was in focus. It was on a 7-day auction. Every day I got up to get my coffee and go check on the computer to see how much that set was going for because it got bids the first day. And by the time the 7 days were up, I had taken that $500 set and turned it into $1,320. That's what I ended up getting for it, $1,320. It probably wasn't quite to snuff with typical retail pricing at the time, but it was a lot better than the $500 I paid for it. Oh, Fox Run Forge. So I did what every Boy Scout would do. You're right. I took $300 over and gave the guy an additional $300. I said, we're going to split this one. I said, you're the one that did the work and you found the set. You got the set for me. You made sure I had it. You made sure I made money. All right, Hidden Numismatist, you have a great day. So I'm going to do you a good solid. Here's another $300. And we became friends after that because it was like, nobody does that. Well, I do. If I make money on your coins, I'm going to make sure that you make money too. And there's another one of them right there. It's not very nice, but it's there nonetheless. Hopefully we run into some sort of a marker that'll help me once I get these underneath my regular microscope. That's what I'm hoping, is that these turn into something more than what they appear to be here. Because by what they appear to be here, they're not that great. But we're not coming up with any really good double dyes. I haven't found any really good double dyes and no RPMs so far. So we're going to take this as the highlight of the roll and we're not going to skip over it. We're going to give it a chance. Yo, man. Good morning. Good afternoon. It is now 30 minutes after the hour. So it is definitely afternoon here on the East Coast. Let's see. Slightly better dice date on this one. I mean, this one's not completely chewed up and worn down to nothing. Some of these other dies are just hideous. They needed to be replaced and they weren't. You think that's my last story? No, I have more. I have more where that came from. Went to the bank one time. This was in 1995. And I banked at the First National Bank of Midwest City, Oklahoma. I went in and I went there specifically for pennies, which I didn't do very often. But I went there for pennies and I asked the lady, I said, what you got for pennies? I want something that looks like it's been wrapped up for a long time. So she went over to the thing next door and she says, you have any of those pink wrappers? And the lady says, oh yeah, sure, I got them. Here. So she exchanged some money back and forth between tellers so they could keep their drawers even. And she came back over and she put these down on the table, on the teller counter there. And I was like, wow, this is nice. It was about 20 rolls. I think it was 19 rolls. And they were all in the dark pink paper. And they said 50 pennies on them. And I thought, man, that's really cool. Dark pink paper. And they were folded over on the end, so I couldn't check the ends or anything. And I didn't really care because I was going to get them for face value. So what I did was I handed her a $5 bill and I said, that goes in your pocket. And then I paid her for the pennies. Took the pennies home, opened up the first roll. Almost the entire roll was wheat pennies. This is 1995, people. 1995. Not 1975. It's 1995. That was like yesterday. And there's another one. Open up the roll and I look through them and there's, 20s, 30s, 40s. It was obviously an unsearched mix of wheat pennies. I thought, wow, this is really cool. Well, make a long story short, I opened that entire batch of rolls, 19 rolls, and the newest coin in there was a 1964, and it was shiny. So I assumed that they had been rolled around 1964. I found 14 Indian head pennies in that. Almost all of the rest of the coins were wheat cents. Of the Indian head pennies, I found an 1868 and an 1866. I didn't get any from the 70s, though, unfortunately. Stories only get so good, right? I mean, you can't just go way over with them, right? But there was this one piece in there that really intrigued me. And, of course, we had internet back then, but the internet was still crawling. It wasn't walking yet. But this piece was a company store token. I thought that was kind of interesting. Something about blah, 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 company store, good for, and I can't remember how much it was good for. I think it was a penny. So I took it home, and I ended up getting a somewhat close match to what it was. Found out that it was a Colescript token. I thought, Colescript token? Yet this was the only one I got out of this group. And so I decided, well, I'll just run it on eBay and see what happens, right? I mean, can't lose. It cost me a penny. So we'll see what happens. Well, lo and behold, I ended up getting a $65 bill for that coin. Evidently, it was a rare Colescript token. It was in really good shape, too. See, these are the ones that got away. I kind of wish I still had that coin. I kind of still wish I had the 21 piece dollar I sold. I kind of wish I had the 1794 large cent that I sold. That 1794 large cent would easily go for 50,000 plus now. I could use 50,000. Of course, couldn't we all? There was another time I opened a roll of pennies, and I knew I was into something good because I found a few wheat pennies. There weren't very many of them, but there were also some modern pennies in there. So evidently it was a jar or some sort of a collection that was dumped into a jar with modern pennies, because there was old ones and new ones. But one of the old ones, I pull it out to look at it, and it says Army and Navy. Oh, that's kind of weird. I flipped it over, and it was a 1863 Indian head. Or no, that wasn't an Indian head. That was a Liberty head. That's weird. What is this thing? So I went and I started looking it up around on the internet. We had the internet then. I think it was 97. And so I started looking around, and I find out this is an Army-Navy patriotic token. Civil War token. I thought, that's kind of cool. I have no idea why it was made, but it's definitely from 1863. To this day, it's the oldest piece that I've ever found in a roll of pennies. It's 1863 Army-Navy Civil War token. I think I got $20 out of that. And $20 wasn't bad for a coin that cost me a penny. In fact, $20 was a pretty good take for a coin that wasn't a regular U.S. coin. I mean, back then it was, one of those things where you're trying to find every seated quarter and every whatever you can find. Barber quarters, barber dimes, V-nickels, buffalo nickels, whatever it might be. I already told you guys a story about my kid at the coin show. Comes back to the table and says, "Hey, Dad, can you hang on to these for me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." I look at it, and it's like a 3/4 of a sheet of full horn buffaloes starting in the mid to late 20s. I'm like, dude, you scored here. So how much did you spend on this stuff? So I didn't spend anything. Well, how did you do that? And so he'd gone to a couple of the programs that the Coin Club had held, and they had what they called youth dollars. And they were giving away, or YN dollars, that's what they were. They're called YN dollars. They gave away YN dollars to kids for sitting nicely and listening to a club presentation about coins. He sat through every one of them. He played the games of chance that you can double your money on those. And he ended up with enough to go to this dealer, another doubled eyelid there, tells this dealer, "I think I like buffalo nickels." So the dealer not only sells him the buffalo nickels, the earlier ones that were more valuable for probably around half price, but he also gives him all the late 30s in full horn VF or better. Dude, you have any idea what these are worth, son? He says, oh, I don't know, probably a few dollars a piece. I said, yeah, you're right, a few dollars a piece. So you got about $100 worth of nickels here. Really? Yeah, about $100 worth at least. Wow. Oh, gotta go. I said, what you gonna do? He says, oh, I got another program to listen to, and then I'm gonna go play. Oh, okay. So about a week later, as he was digging through his buffalo nickels on the floor of my office, he says, hey, Dad. I said, yeah. He said, if I say something, are you going to get mad at me? It's like, can I say something without you getting mad? I said, yeah, sure. That's okay, son. He said, is it okay with you if I don't collect pennies and I do nickels instead? Because I think pennies are kind of boring. I said, yeah, of course, son. You collect whatever you want to collect. It's not about me. Well, yeah, but I know that you're doing all this stuff with pennies, and it would make sense if I did pennies too. No, son, it's not necessary. There's another one. You do not have to do pennies. Okay, thanks, Dad. That was kind of cute, actually. I miss it now because he doesn't do anything with coins. He likes watches. He likes original quartz watches, Rolexes, stuff like that. He likes the real stuff. Hey, Steve. Stevie is here. There's another one. A lot of stories we're going through, but I'm making quite a substantial stack of little doubled eyelids here. This is another one. That's coin number 30. Coin number 30 went to Sureg. Now for coin number 31. Adam Chambers. I remember one time, not in my best of days, I had already set up at a few major shows with my photography equipment, made some pretty good money photographing people's coins for them. And I thought, well, this is something that I could probably do. Travel the country with my camera equipment, my setup and everything, my tent and all that stuff I made, and do photographs of people's coins for them. Well, it worked pretty well until I went to a Baltimore show one time. They set me up in the back corner of the room. Somebody else had already stolen my idea and was closer to the front. So here I was all the way in the back of the room. First person to ever do this, to travel coin shows and do photographs of people's coins for them. But the guy who was set up closer to the front got all the business. I spent the entire weekend of that show and made a total of $125. Can't remember if this is one of them or not. I'm going to have to focus back in. No, it's not. So yeah, $125 for an entire weekend. All the gas it took me to drive over there and drive back. This, I lived in Missouri, and this was, where was that? It was in Baltimore. So I had a major bummer. There's another one. Major bummer. I didn't do it anymore. That was the last time I ever set up to do photos like that. But the story for that one was that of the 6 or 7 coins I photographed that entire show, it was just a guy comes back, he hands me a stack of slabs, says, I got to get back to work. You go ahead and key them in and everything, do whatever you need to do with them and take your photos and bring them back to me. I'm at table, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. So I took the photos, but I didn't really look at what the coins were before I started taking the photos. I got the first coin done, the second coin done. One of them was a barber dime that was MS. I'm like, well, you know, that's nice, but it's not really impressive to me because I'm not a barber person. But then the next coin I looked at, I put it under my camera, and I looked at the date first. It was a 1937 Buffalo nickel. It was absolutely stunning. I had to turn the f-stop down on my camera just to get a good picture of it because it was so bright. I was like, you got to be kidding me, right? So I took a picture of the obverse and I flipped it over, and sure enough, it was a 3-legged buffalo. 1937 D 3-legged buffalo. So I finished taking the photos, and I pulled it out and I looked at the label on the slab. It was a PCGS. Hey, looky there, we've got a double die. Is that a double die? That is a double die. Double die reverse alert, folks. Now you're going to force me to go back through the entire roll again. But you can see everything spread toward the rim. From, looks like of, through America. There it is on the F. Let me bring it in close. Take a good close look at it. I'll tell you the grade of the coin after we get done. There's the doubling on the top of the F. You can see the split in the serif over on the side there. And there's your F. There's the top of the A. It doesn't really look like a whole lot. There's the top of the M. Now here's where it gets impressive. This is the top of the E. The top of the R. That's a double die, folks. There's the top of the I. See how the serif is all spread out like that? It's a class 2 double die obverse. It doesn't really show very well on the C or the A, but there's the initials. You can see it on the initials. I may or may not have already crossed over one of these, so I'm going to definitely have to do a good check of the roll again to see that I didn't miss any, but this is a nice double die reverse. Let me get focused in a little bit better. This is the bottom of the T of cent. There's the bottom of the N. A little bit there on the bottom of the E. Let's see what else we have. I don't really see anything going any further. And so you can definitely have part affected and part not affected by this kind of doubling. So you can see it there. Now that I've already told you it's a double die, you can actually see it there, where the serifs are a little bit split out for you. Get this thing focused. There we go. So there's the N and the I and the T and the E. So there's a little bit of doubling over here that you can see. But the doubling doesn't get really good. There's the D, S, T. There's no doubling at all right there. A, T, E, S. You see it just a little tiny bit on the top of the S. Nothing really on the top of the O, but man, that F shows it very nicely. Now I just created more work for myself, that's right. But I like doing that. Alright, so we've got a nice double die reverse here. I'm just going to stick that all the way up to coin number 33 before I find it. So we're just going to stick that on a different pile. Not really going to give it a die number. We know it's a nice double die reverse. This one's going to go to Bulldog. So good on you, buddy. MS66 red. Sorry, MS-66, not red. I'm used to saying red. It was an MS-66. 1937 D3-legged Buffalo, an MS-66. I couldn't have imagined I'd see one of those in that condition. It was really nice. PCGS slab, too. PCGS MS-66. That was sweet. Reminds me of Candy Crush. My wife would be playing Candy Crush, and across the room I'd hear, sweet. So you're playing your game again, aren't you? Yeah, why? I just looked at her and I said, delicious. She just kind of smiled and went back to her game. Hello, Bill. This one's for Paul Hampton. Let's see what Paul Hampton ends up with. And it's not one of the eyes. It's not a DDR. Coin number 35. Coin number 35. Paul Hampton now to coin number 36. Getting closer to the end of the roll. Well, hello, Majestic. Yo, man, go. Relatively late die state obverse. Been running into a lot of those. And the reverse. Also kind of late die state and not a double die. That's coin number 36. Now number 37. You're on level 4,313. I have no idea where my wife is, but every time I see her and she's not doing much of anything else, she's got her phone out playing that game. We talk about that sort of thing. She says, well, you spend a lot of time with coins on your computer. I said, yes, ma'am. She said, I can't believe how much time you can spend sitting in front of a computer with coins. I said, yes, ma'am. Then I said, how much money do you make playing Candy Crush Saga? Well, that wasn't my point. I think it was. You complaining about how much time I spend in front of the computer. You know, that video game that you're popping around playing with every single time I see you. How much you making playing that? Good morning, Arizona Coins. Hope it's been a great morning so far and your coffee's all great. Everything's wonderful. Well, you need to keep yourself locked up in your house, that's for sure. Arizona is a hotbed right now for the COVID. I'm sorry, yo, man, where? You see something? Struck through marks? What are we talking about? Is that like this little thing? No. It's little bits of glob that came off the counting machine onto the coins. You might see another one here somewhere, but that's what that was. Yeah, I don't really know how much of the whole thing about COVID I actually believe. But evidently what I was watching for to happen did. That everybody went out protesting, gathering in large crowds, exactly what they told you not to do. And now they have record numbers of COVID cases. That doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out. So I've managed to go months now without getting it, or at least I don't think I got it. They say you can get one of those tests. All you have to do is go to one of the drive-through centers and wait for a couple of hours, and you'll get yourself a test. And I think the test that they're doing is actually one of those hemoglobin tests where they check to see if you have the antibodies against it. I don't know that I wouldn't be disinterested in something like that, but I just don't want to sit in my car for a couple hours waiting for it. Is this an RPM? Well, there's some chance of it. I'm going to have to go in and take a look. I'm looking inside the mint mark. Come on, Chuck. No, it's not. Nope, no RPM. Darn it. I thought, just maybe. See, this is one of the double eyelids. Minor, but it's there. Appears to be there anyway. Move my loop. These things not struck through. This is all just gunk on the coin that came from the counting machines. Next up will be Mike Birchman. Here's Mikey's coin. Let's see what we get for him. Nada. Bummer. That's coin number 41. Now for coin number 42. Nada. Got one single example of a double die reverse so far. We've got a number of doubled eyelids. And I have to go back through the entire roll again and check for doubled eyelids. That's for sure. Gotta do something about this. Make some bump to the desk or something. These old pieces are hard to pick up from the desk. John Brandon Bow. John Brandon Bow for coin number 43. This is coin number 43. Hey there, Paul Hampton. How are you doing? Yeah, I definitely prefer slow days. The longer they are, the better for me. Because I'm sort of kind of semi-retired. I don't consider what I do really work. It can be long and arduous, but it's still not really work. Do what you love to do and you'll never work a day in your life. Here's another one. A minor doubled eyelid, or so it appears to be. No, generally what I'll do is I will look at the obverse and reverse of every single coin with an open mind, not necessarily looking for anything specific, because I have managed to find Kaneka listed RPMs that I missed the first time around in a roll that we'd already gone through. So, yeah. Sometimes I am not infallible. Adam Chambers. Adam Chambers gets the next coin in the roll. Let's take a look and see what we've got. This is a double eyelid. This is one that's nice and clean, easier to see. And what do we have on the reverse? None of any particular interest. I do have a double eyelid though. Oops, we get Adam's name in here. Next will be Mr. Fletcher. Here's another one. See what we got next here. This side is just a normal, very late die state coin. I saw something I need to look at again. Okay, yeah, normal coin. Now for number 47, this will be Paul Hampton. Paul Hampton's coin number 47. Nada. I think on the next broadcast I'll talk about dreams I've had that are coin-related dreams. I've had a few of them. Number 49, got 2 coins left. This is one of the 2. Jeff Dunn will get this one. Let's see what we end up with for Jeff Dunn. Not really seeing anything here. Bummer. Let's take a look at the other side. Wait, let me look at the eye again. I want to just make sure. Check the eyelid. Okay, nothing. Well, I won't spoil anything with a pre-story, but at least one of mine involves caches of coins. Now number 50, last coin in the roll. Wait a minute. Figure out what I didn't do. Yeah. Okay. I did not get a name in this one. What was this one? this coin was not assigned to anyone. Made that mistake while I was telling my stories. So, somebody who's not involved, I want Yo-Man to choose a number between 1 and 10. Yo-Man, you still around? Give me a number between 1 and 10, Yo-Man. This one is going to be the odd. If you guess even, we'll take the other. Okay, this is the odd. It's Bill Betts. So Bill Betts will get the coin that I just showed under the scope. That's coin number 41. And then coin number 50 will go to Eric Beyer. Thank you, sir. And let's see what we have for coin number 50. I don't think it really made a whole lot of difference because both coins were normal. Yeah, this one's spotty from the end of the roll. So we found one double die reverse so far. I'll have to go back through all these again, make sure that was the only one. Coin counter rubber stuff. I found a number of double die lids, and I don't really even know how many different dies, but I know there's at least 2 different dies, possibly 3 or 4 different dies. Could be near any number of dies. But here's what we've got. This is what I'm looking at presently for the double die lids. We got Mike Birchman, Joe McBride, Adam Chambers, Adam Connor, Farm Dog, Sir Reg, Pammy J, Marshall, Jeff Dunn, Sir Reg, Bulldog, and Adam Chambers. So it's 2 for Adam Chambers and 2 for Sir Reg, and I think everybody else only got 1 of them. And then for the double die reverse, number 33 goes to Bulldog. So there we go. And the rest of them are normal coins. Or that I need to recheck for double die lids. So there we have it, folks. I appreciate you stopping by. We're going to have another broadcast at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Our 3 o'clock broadcast will be a 1969S Bank of America roll. And then at 6 o'clock, we'll have an 87D roll. And then at 9 o'clock, we'll have a 58D roll. All of these are original bank wrapped rolls. And all of the times that I just mentioned are Eastern Time, as I am in the Mid-Atlantic. Well, I don't know that you'd call it the Mid-Atlantic. I'm probably in the Southeast. It'd be North Carolina. But I appreciate it, folks. See you at 3 o'clock. Have a great day until then.